Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm doing another review for TokuStation. So, we're doing something a little bit different here than what we usually do. What I usually do is I actually do an entire episode, at least for season one, I did entire episodes on news topics, and then after those episodes, I would then do a TokuStation review for an episode. Yet, here we are now, in this situation where I have an episode that I already did. By the way, for season two, we're actually doing them live on our Twitch, twitch.tv/TG Productions, and then we cut them up into clips for our channel, Teacher Productions. So, our YouTube channel. So, that's what we've been doing. And then all of a sudden, due to me being sick and a bunch of other factors, all of a sudden, boom, we have the air date for Power Rangers Beast Morphers, and it aired today. At least that's when we're recording this. It aired today on Saturday, March for a second first. What is happening to time as we know it? It is March 2nd. I could swear to you it's March 2nd 2009, but it is not. We're actually in 2019. And so today we're talking about Beast Morphers, and I frankly, so I had there was a lot of hype going into this, and I think I fell for the hype. And I thought it was going to be a trap, not because there's anything wrong with the cast or the directors or anything like that, or Hasbro, but it's just one of those things where any piece of media, any form of media, I get hyped for it. It could be a movie, a book, a TV show. I get hyped. I read it, I watch it, whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden I sit back and go, nah, it was a lot of hype, and it wasn't terrible, perhaps, but it didn't live up to my expectations, and yet somehow Beast Morphers managed to live up to my expectations, which is an amazing thing, for me at least, as someone who watched it. As the fan who is currently talking about it, I did enjoy that, yes. But no, I think it was just so shocking to me because I was, yes, there people are talking about like a change in the guard and things like that because Hasbro is now involved, but at the same time, though, Saban is still involved as of right now. That now, as a producer, it might just be credit because certain producers just get credit just by name only. They don't really have any input into it or anything like that, but still I was wondering if it was a bit like I was gonna say Power Ranger, a bit like Wild Force, where it was like Disney's name was on it and so was Saban's, but I don't remember how far into it Saban was before selling it off to Disney. So I thought it was a similar situation here where we didn't know how far, or at least I don't know personally how far, Saban was working on this before Hasbro came in and purchased the rights and everything like that. So I heard a lot of people saying, oh, it's going to be so different. It's going to be so great and so amazing. And even though I was extremely hyped, I didn't want to jump on that hype train necessarily. I was on a different hype train. So, but I didn't want to necessarily think, oh, it's just going to be better just because it's Hasbro and et cetera, et cetera. And also wanted to make note of as well is that I actually haven't seen the last few Power Rangers seasons in full. The last full Power Rangers season I saw from start to finish was RPM. So, and that's also 10 years old. Dear God, where is the time going? But still, though, it's not that I haven't seen Power Rangers since. I've seen little bits here and there, but I have not seen a full season. And from what I've seen, other than the theme song for Dino Charge, which I will legitimately jam out to at a moment's notice, I feel as if from what I've seen has been lacking. And that's nothing. It's not about the actors. It's not about, I don't know the directors personally. I don't know anything. I haven't gone in depth to see what might have went wrong there, but I do know that, or at least what wasn't up to, what really didn't draw me in personally. But I've talked about this before and I'm talking about it again. There was talk, I don't know if it was the actors themselves from Samurai or it was other people on set or other crew or something like that. But I remember hearing that the actors were told by certain directors or by certain, maybe if not the directors, then certain higher ups to act as if they are talking to children, and not specifically when they're talking to the kids, because of course, there's always a kid of the week in certain shows and stuff like that, but just in general, just act like they're talking, as if kids have to really pick up on it. So instead of being actors and instead of acting and trying to react to the moment and things like that, it was, oh, come on, you. And it was just, just this way of speaking that just didn't feel natural. And I'm not saying that, every single line uttered in here was perfection or anything like that. And specifically referring to Beast Morphers. But the thing is that for me, this felt very much, I don't know, for me, it felt like an episode of Star Trek. And when I say that is when I look at certain episodes of Star Trek, I'm not saying that it's certain episodes, not all. Certain Trekkies are going to be like, do we take out the pitchforks now or should we sharpen them first? No, but I feel like certain episodes of Star Trek, especially seeing them out of context, not even referring to TOS or referring to TNG, although I haven't seen much of TNG, but sometimes you look at it and you think, all right, the budget isn't always there. Exactly right. Sometimes the acting isn't always there, but the point is it a fun installment, and does it expand the universe, and is it something that potentially, depending on what episode of Star Trek you're looking at, something that everyone can see. Right. So when you look at the original series, Star Trek TOS, with Kirk and everyone else, I remember my dad loved it when he was a kid, and my grandmother watched it with him. Then when I was a kid, he showed it to me, and I would watch it with him. So when I look at something like Power Rangers, specifically in this case Beast Morphers, it's not just something that I would show to my kid because I'm like, oh, I liked this, so you have to now like this. It's something that I think you could enjoy together. Now, do I have a kid? No, but that is irrelevant. If I had a kid, but I do feel like this is something where it doesn't feel like you're saying, oh, this is good for Power Rangers. You're saying, oh, this is a good show. Right? This is fun, this is interesting, this is entertaining, and you want to see where it's going to go. Now, yes, some of the actors are, most of the actors actually are relatively new to acting, at least when it comes to the youngins. I actually talked about that a while. I think it was last episode of, actually might have been last season of TokuStation, actually. But still, a lot of them are youngins. They're new to this, but I think some of them really, you don't really see that they're new to this, and they kind of just shine. And even then, even if they don't in this first episode, I do think that throughout another 19 more, they're going to do well. That's just my take. I think they're going to do well. They're going to grow, and these characters are going to grow, and we're going to see where this series can go. A few moments of it really stuck out to me that I enjoyed. The fact that they got away with using the Go Busters logo for Grid Battle Force. Fucking hilarious. It's just, I love when shows are like, ooh, how can we get away, because even though now other than I think other than like 2 shots or 3 shots, this entire episode was brand new footage. But it's actually really funny how they're just setting it up later, where if they need to show a shot of of the I would say the Go Busters, of the Beast Morphers standing near the near the building, and then you see the logo, it's like, oh yes, of course it is not the Go Busters. Oh no, it is Grid Battle Force. Of course it is. Just, I don't know, it's just funny to me whenever that happens, because it's a lot easier to explain that than it is to explain why there's kanji in certain episodes of Turbo. I'm pretty sure they actually have some scenes where you're like, wait, is that a Japanese person? Wait, is that a sign with a kanji on it? Like a street sign or something? Anyway, also the fact that they referenced a lot of earlier seasons in a way that I did not expect them to, because frankly, when I watch a Power Rangers show, just like when I watch a Sentai, I assume that they are in no way canon to every single year that came before it, the dozens of years, at one point it's going to be the hundreds of years that came before it. I assume that we're just sitting back and going, okay, until there's a special of some type, this is its own thing. But the fact that they actually referenced it in show was nice for the older fans that are watching, like myself, like some others who've been also keeping up and know some of the villains' names other than Rita Repulsa. It is nice to acknowledge that in canon in the first episode. It's just one of those things where, look, in no way I'm going to say this isn't a kid's show, right? I'm not saying that Power Rangers shouldn't be a kid's show and that it should kind of stray away from its roots to be like more gritty and grimdark. Like, no. It's a kid's show, and we get it, right? But I think that something that Power Rangers needs to do, and I hope that this show helps it do, is go from also being a kid's show to a family show. Again, like I referenced earlier with Star Trek, look at something like Doctor Who, and I consider Doctor Who a family show, something that I could watch with my entire family. And I hope that eventually Power Rangers can do that as well, and I think this is a great step in that direction. So having, tie-ins to lore, but at this point, none of them being crazy in depth. Like, you don't need to go crazy amounts of, this isn't an anniversary show as far as I can remember, so there's no need to, let's say, bring back Tommy Oliver or anything like that. We can just, keep it with random references now and again, because they do exist in the same timeline, but we don't need anything crazy to bring up or anything like that, any time travel plots or anything, until you get to a special or something like that, or a movie, something along those lines. Moving on, okay, so I love the opening. One thing I love, the opening. It's actually awesome. Again, kind of getting away from just saying Mighty Morphin Power Rangers over and over in a remix. It feels different. It's a bit too short, but I also like that we can get straight to the action. I think I like longer openings a little bit. Again, if they don't say Mighty Morphin Power Rangers over and over. It's funny too, because some of you guys out there are like, you don't like you don't like Mighty Morphin? What's wrong with you? I grew up with Mighty Morphin. I loved Mighty Morphin. I'll go back to it if I ever want to go back to it, but I also want to see something new, because this isn't Mighty Morphin. So, and if I want to go back and see Mighty Morphin, I have, funnily enough, as we're talking about this right now, Go Busters, damn it, Beast Morphers is not available on demand for me, because it just aired today, and they're not doing any repeats until tomorrow morning. So, in the background, I have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the first one on TV, and it was on demand. So I have that going on in the background, so I have no problem with it. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I didn't go see Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in theaters, I know that for sure I have both VHSs of that and also of Turbo on my shelf. Still do, from when I was a kid. So it's one of those things where I love that show, but I'm happy that they're doing something different here. But I love singing along with longer, like, Sentai openings and certain Power Rangers openings as well. Like I mentioned earlier, Dino Chargers opening is just magnifique, très magnifique. So having this opening here, it was definitely a good one. But the way they did the cut between the episode itself, with the main character, with Red being like, oh shit, you've caught me, and then into the opening, was a little weird. I feel like they could have done that earlier, potentially, maybe when he was trying to sneak into the facility. Would also like to mention, I love the comedic relief characters. I'm going to try to look up some names of characters here, because of course we're just getting them for the first time, so, and I'm also bad with character names in general, but I love them so much, because I can't wait to see them grow, and hopefully they end up being, I would really hope that they end up being the next two Rangers that are introduced. Because yes, if you don't know, there's going to be some more Rangers later on. We don't know who they're going to be. I mean, I'm going to assume, just basing off of the two people that are comatose, they're going to end up being potentially saved earlier on and then turned into Rangers. But if that doesn't happen till the end of the season, then maybe the two Rangers will be the comedic duo. And the reason why I say that is because I'm not going to spoil anything either for Go Busters or for this show, because again, I also, to be fair, I don't know where the show's going to go, because this first episode was almost all brand new footage, so you never really know where the show's going to go, which I also like as well. Even though I do like a show that's faithful to the Sentai footage, not the story. I want to watch something different, but that's faithful to the Sentai footage. It's still nice to know that they have some money to throw around to make it look really good, like the way they did, because the fight sequences were amazing, and I'll talk about some staff that was behind that a little bit later. But what I was trying to say is, I love the comedic duo, and looking at what their Ranger counterparts would be in Go Busters in the Sentai version, it does seem like there's a comedic timing there that I think the two of them could do well with together. So I do hope that the two of them actually end up being Rangers. It might not be the case, but I think it's something that people have wanted for years, going back to the original, thinking about like Bulk and Skull. I do think that there were a subset of people that were like, oh, it would be nice if they were Rangers, but of course, when you know that the Sentai exists and know that they have no equivalent of Bulk and Skull, they're not going to be able to make that work. In this case, having it the way the Sentai worked, with 3 characters and introducing more Rangers later, more Sentai members later, in this case, I do think that I would really hope that they end up getting a bigger role, because I want to see those 2 characters grow, not out of being comic relief characters, but they seem to want to do so much good. That I do hope that they can in some way or another. Now, but again, I want to get their character names here before. Let's see here, because I talked about the cast on a previous episode of TokuStation. So yeah, moving over to the allies section of Wikipedia. Yeah, so it was Christina Ho as Betty Burke and Cosme Flores as Ben Burke. Now I know some people, oh, they're actually brother and sister. Okay, so I didn't know that. So here's something I want to mention as well. So when they both have the last name Burke. Matt, are they brother and sister? I don't know. Burke is a common last name. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the two of them. I know some people might say, "Oh, but they can't fight. They weren't trained to fight. They're not cadets, etc., etc." But the thing is, it seems like with this organization, they were a lot of people there are, especially with Yellow, they were trained to be cadets, but that does not in any way mean that they actually can pass. But when you get your ranger powers, from the looks of it, looking at Yellow, who I want to see her name here. Yes, Jacqueline. God, I'm so sorry, Jacqueline. Jacqueline Sislowski. Sislowski. If it's not Jacqueline, I'm saying Sislowski. So Jacqueline Sislowski is Zoe Reeves. So with her, I mean, she got her powers and she was doing just fine. Of course, we have Devin Daniels, who is, we have Rory D. Travis as Devin Daniels. He was the Red Ranger. He clearly knows karate, as you can see from him in the dojo. That is totally not the Angel Grove no, it is not. It's not the Angel Grove Youth Center. No, it's a dojo. That's clearly, it really seems like it might be. They might tie that in a little bit later. But looking at him, he knew, karate, kung fu, but in no way was he trained at that academy. Of course, he snuck in and he can still do just fine. So if he can do just fine, and if Yellow can do just fine, I don't understand why we can't get Betty Burke and Ben Burke in on this, especially being a brother-sister team. We've had that before, both in Super Sentai and in Power Rangers. It would be nice, and I think it would be nice also just to show that it would just be nice representation, specifically also looking at Cosme Flores because he's a very heavy guy. And it would be nice to see him actually be a Power Ranger, growing up as a very heavy kid, then losing that weight, and then gaining it back. But damn it, I still love myself. I do. I don't have to say it out loud. I just do. But anyway, but seriously though, being someone who's a heavy kid, I think if I had seen a heavy Power Ranger, because I saw a kid as a Power Ranger, if you remember, I think it was Justin from Turbo, who I didn't hate, but he was just some kid. Right, so seeing I believe he's Hispanic, and me being Hispanic, seeing a Hispanic kid, if I was a kid, would definitely mean a lot. Like, to become a Ranger would definitely mean a lot to me. So I would hope that he could potentially become a Ranger, but I have the weirdest feeling they're probably going to make the two that are currently in a coma. Let me make sure I get their names right. It is, we have, yes, Colby Strong as Blaze. God, that's a good name, by the way, Blaze. And it's funny too that his name is Colby Strong. It just comes off as like a professional wrestler. Like, my name is Colby Strong, and my professional wrestling name is Tim or something. It's just kind of like, he has a good enough name that it's like, yeah, Blaze Ranger is cool and everything, but you can just be Colby Strong. And of course, Liana Ramirez as Roxy. Now, so she actually did phenomenal in this overall, especially, and I don't mean to knock on this dude, but looking at her in universe, this is her character's boyfriend, former boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, looking at Jazz Baduwalia. So I hope that he becomes more comfortable with the role going on with it, as the series goes on, because I do see a lot of potential in him. And of course, he's the Blue Ranger, and his mom is apparently running the facility, or at least running that division, with the Ranger division. So I do think there's going to be a lot more of room for growth with him. I don't necessarily like romantic subplots in general, especially ones with teenagers, regardless if they have attitude or not. I'm just like, I don't know. But at the same time, though, it still is nice to have a little bit more depth with these characters, ones that I don't really see usually in Power Rangers, even in the original. Usually it's just, hey, this is what we're doing for this episode, and that's it. So to actually seem like we're going to have some continuity going throughout the series, I do think that's amazing, and I definitely enjoy what both of them bring to the table. But the reason why originally I was trying to bring up Blaze Ranger and let's see, Roxy, they don't have a name for her evil avatar? Huh. As of right now, it's just Roxy, the ex. That's weird. I'm assuming we're going to get a name for her evil avatar. But either way, though, with both of them, I wonder if they're going to do like a switcheroony or something. Because they're, again, I don't want to spoil Go Buster stuff, but the bad guys, I'm not going to say that they die, and I'm not going to say that they get upgrades, but there are changes in suits that happen midway through the show. I believe they wanted to change the focus of the show a little bit and try to boost up some ratings. I believe that was the reason why, but it's been like 6 years, so do not quote me on that, or 7 years, don't quote me on that, even more. But the point is that they might have some suit changes as well, so if they don't get upgrades, then potentially they'll get ousted for other avatars, so they'll be woken up potentially. And then we could have a situation where they become the next two Rangers. And look, while I do think that both Liana Ramirez and Roxy, I know that this, she plays that character, but still, they were both gypped, okay? And that's actually the problem, I think, with social media nowadays, because the fact that I was reporting on it, all of us were in the community were, if not reporting on it, we're talking about it, the fact that these are our three Rangers, right? Our three Rangers are Rory D. Travis, Jazz Baduwalia, and Jacqueline Sislowski. They're all our Rangers, as Devon Daniels, Ravi Shaw, and Zoe Reeves. They're all them. And then all of a sudden when we see these three people, of course I knew that Jazz Baduwalia was still going to be, he was still going to be blue, but when I see the other two and I'm like, no, and there's a virus in here, I saw it coming, but it still wasn't a deterrent for me. Sometimes when I see things coming, I don't think of that as like the worst, like, because I saw it coming, it's terrible. I just go, but social media also confirmed this. It's a bit like with Doctor Who, where the BBC doesn't want there to be any leaks and spoilers and stuff, so by fans, by the newest Doctor being on set. So they then tell you who the newest Doctor is sometimes before the newest season is even out. So, and I say newest season, not newest with the new Doctor. I mean newest even with the older Doctor. So I sit back and I'm like, I know who it's going to be, and I know how, in Doctor Who how it happens. So, I get it. You want to promote your show. You want to hype your show. You don't want, fan leaks to ruin your show and things like that. But I think in this case, it is kind of a little sad. Thankfully, it was done in the first episode, so it was real quick. But it is kind of sad that it was just like, we're going to try to fake you out, even though everything, even... Actually, I don't remember if the 30-second ad on TV actually showed their faces. If it didn't, bravo. But if it did, damn. Because, it was a fake out that I think would have been very interesting if I had went into it cold. Because if I had, I truly would have been shocked. Because yes, you could think, maybe the virus will take over them or something. But again, if I went into it cold, even if I knew about Go Busters, but if I went into this specifically cold, I do think it would have been very interesting. But I also want to say, just talking about the acting in general, even though I said that about Blue's actor, I'm not trying to knock on the guy. I really did enjoy his performance throughout the episode. Just certain things. I think that it's just very hard for actors in general, regardless of age, regardless of experience, if they don't have chemistry. And I don't know them personally, maybe as friends they have great chemistry, but if a certain je ne sais quoi, certain kind of chemistry isn't there, it's very hard to make that work. And so that's something that I think that it's really hard on the guy. So bless him for being a trooper, for trying to go through that. I know he's getting paid and everything, but still, it's like it's very hard to do that, especially when you're not going to have just kids watching this, and also judging what they can. I mean, they can't necessarily judge a performance as well, potentially, as the older folk do. And now I'm an older folk coming in here, so my bad, dude. But I think in general, though, the acting felt very believable. Like I mentioned way earlier, it feels like they're actually talking to one another, and they're really trying to be in the moment. Because they're as characters, they are in that moment. As actors, of course, they're acting, but as characters, they are in those moments. So I really do enjoy what they brought into this. I've been seeing some of the actors on social media talking about how they're trying to give it their all. And, of course, sometimes you're like, all right, I believe you, but as an actor, you're just trying to promote your product. But I really don't think obviously, yes, it is promotion, but they really do believe in this. And I think because they believe in this, that's why I believe in this. this, because you see them believing in it, you know. So it's the fact that it doesn't. I wasn't really taken out of it, and also even with the comedy scenes, I think some people are not big fans of slapstick anymore. It's like, how dare you not like the wonderful Abbott and Costello and some of that and some of the. So I had a cut there. I was thinking Three Stooges, but the words weren't coming to my head. But I was doing the routine of them getting slapped and just spun around and everything with my hands, but I couldn't think of Three Stooges. But either way, I do think that some people are like, ooh, that takes us out of the moment. But for me, I think it's just, are you committing to the bit? And I really believed that they were committing to the bit, those two. So I think that overall, I think I enjoyed it so much because it really felt like people cared. And I'm not saying nobody cared before. Again, I haven't seen a full season since RPM. But it's just certain clips that I've seen from certain shows never really drew me in. The first season of Dino Charge, I saw a little bit. I will admit I did enjoy it, but again, I think the song might be bleeding into my opinion of the show, the opening theme song. But this one, just through and through, I actually am interested in seeing what comes of this next week. And you know what a vibe I'm getting? I'm kind of getting a Lightspeed Rescue kind of vibe, which is one that I did enjoy as a kid. I'm definitely kind of getting that vibe from it a little bit, and I think that. I'm also happy, and look, maybe things will change in the future, especially if you have to, teach them how to be rangers and things like that. But as of right now, I do enjoy that they didn't immediately jump into a school setting, even if it's a school within that facility. I'm just happy with the first episode. It didn't feel like it's like, oh, we're all in high school, right? Like, I'm just happy that it's something, it just feels different, and it's funny because some people would say, oh, with a military vibe like that, it could feel, and with a virus taking over the world, it does feel like RPM. So maybe that's just what resonates with me, viruses wanting to take over the world, with military operations kind of throw in there. I don't know, maybe that's what it is, for me personally, but I definitely just am happy that they all aren't just they're cadets, but they're not students. Even though I said do before, my first thought when I think of students, for some reason with an academy and everything, is like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So I just hear the GX opening in my head, the English one. So it's just nice to see that they seem to be treated as equals, and they feel like they are equals, and they're not just kids and teenagers in school. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a teenager in school, but of course, teenagers know. I remember being a teenager in school and feeling like I was, under the mercy of like the teachers and the faculty and everything. So you kind of feel like you lose this sense of like agency a little bit in a way. And yeah, some of the kids, you're like, okay, I see why that kid wouldn't be is losing his agency, but what about me? Again, it's just being a teen. So I feel like it's nice to be able to make them feel like they are their own people. Granted, it did suck that the Yellow Ranger, she was kind of kicked out and she had to do laundry, but still, I enjoy that promise that was brought by the mayor, by Red's dad, which was like, young lady, I believe in you, I'm sure you're gonna do great things. And I think it's just a great message for the kids watching, and just for the people watching in general, that anyone can be a Power Ranger. It's not just about those wacky teens. Anyone can be a Power Ranger as long as they want to do good. And I think having Yellow jumping back because she jumping into it because she wanted to do good and not evacuating, having even though Red, of course, he snuck in for all the wrong reasons. Still, the point is that he wants to do good. He tried to inform them of the virus. He wasn't some bratty kid that was just like, just whatever happens to them. No, he wants to help. And of course, Blue was trained in this, which is going to be very interesting because on the Sentai side of this, Blue was sort of the leader, if you will, because Red was kind of new to this. So it's going to be very interesting looking at seeing how that meshes up with the footage. And again, seeing as how the actor for Blue grows as a person throughout this, and as an actor throughout all of this. So let's see, anything else I want to mention here? Oh, man, did I enjoy that fight choreography. I mentioned it earlier, it was on point, and I want to talk about who was working on this, who directed this episode, because they definitely need to be called out and praised. So for directors, we have Simon Bennett and Yuji Noguchi. Now, for Simon Bennett, he's actually done some episodes for the past few years. He did a bunch, not in the beginning, but in the middle half of Super Ninja Steel. I don't know what that means about him. I really don't. Again, I haven't seen anything, so I don't know if that's a good thing, if that's a bad thing. You look that up yourself. You decide if you've been seeing the past few seasons of Power Rangers. And Yuji Noguchi, he's actually worked on a bunch of different stunt work. I believe even leading back to the original Power Rangers, if I remember that correctly. And I'll look at that in a second. But what's really funny is the writers for this episode. That's interesting. It says it was written by Judd Lin. But earlier when I had looked at this, there were actually 5 or 6 writers credited, if I remember correctly. And I found that very interesting simply due to the fact that that's interesting. There was 6 writers credited, and then they were just kind of brought down to Judd Lin. That's very odd. The reason why it was interesting is because my take on that when I first saw that a few hours ago was, you know what? Usually you say too many cooks in the kitchen. In this case, I was happy about all those cooks being in this kitchen. But that's interesting though, because again, there were when I looked at it earlier, there were a bunch of people written by, and now it's only Judd. Really should have written that down, dang it. But still, let's look at Yuji Noguchi's career before we actually before we move on and kind of wrap things up here. Also, we should note, by the way, Yuji is a nickname. His full name is Akihito Noguchi, and let's see here. Let's go by IMDb. So when looking at Toku, he was an action director for Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, specifically 8 episodes. He was an action director for Mega Monster Battle Ultra Galaxy's Legends, which is a movie, or called The Movie. He was also, interesting, Stun's special version of Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening. Interesting. Not Toku, but still interesting. He was a stunt coordinator for 16 episodes of Power Rangers Wild Force. Also stunt creator for Time Force. And again, this goes back really far back. Lightspeed Rescue, Lost Galaxy, In Space, in Turbo the movie. And also in 43 episodes as, I should note, he was a stunt performer. And he performed as Yuji Saeki in Turbo, Power Rangers movie. And for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, he was a stunt double for 43 episodes. And also he did wire rigging for Guyver Dark Hero. If you liked Guyver Dark Hero's wire rigging, then you'd find him there. That's so interesting. And he did stunts for In Space and for Lost Galaxy for 45 episodes. And he became then a coordinator who also did stunts for Lightspeed Rescue. Should also make note of that, because of that, again, he as he's getting better and better at this, and they're noticing his work and his very good work, if I remember correctly, because I don't think I just liked the stunts as a kid, although I have to go back to watch those episodes. It's just amazing to see how, he's come back and he's doing this, and it's doing a damn good job. Now, as director, he has directed 20 episodes of Power Rangers Samurai. Okay. 7 episodes of Power Rangers Megaforce, 1 episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel, and 1 episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers. So this is very interesting. I want to go watch those episodes of Samurai and Megaforce and see what happened there. I know the writing also works out as well, but I'm very interested because I want to see what episodes might differ from maybe other episodes of Samurai. That's very interesting. So either way, guys, as we are wrapping this one up, I want to say thank you all so much for listening in as always. And if you want the audio editions of these, you can actually take a look over at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/TGProductions. And depending on what tier you go to, you can get all of the audio editions, not just of this review, but of other reviews we've done in the past. We've done reviews of Zeo Ranger and of Kamen Rider GO, and also the actual news episodes that we do while talking about different news topics. You can get all of those all in audio format just by donating to one tier, and you get every single one just like that. Snap of the fingers. Don't Thanos it though. Half the world gone. Also, if you want to watch this, well, I assume you're already watching this potentially over at our TG Productions YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much for doing that. And you can tune in tomorrow where we resume with our TokuStation schedule. Thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care and tune in next time. Also, remember, by the way, before you tune in next time, 2 things. One, first of all, I am actually going to be doing these in 3 to 4 episode batches. So in 3 weeks from now, expect 2 to 4. And then in another month, expect 5 to 8. Also, or whenever they air, because it's Power Rangers, so we'll see what happens, right? Also want to mention as well, please tell me what you guys think down below. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you not enjoy this episode? What do you guys think? And if you got the audio version of this and this is in here and you're not watching this on our YouTube, then please you can email us. You can go over to our Twitter at Those Guys Radio, tweet us about it. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. All right, guys, so thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care and do it next time. See ya.